Instruction, golf news, equipment, travel, interviews, course profiles, and more. Your weekly fix of all things golf is about to begin. It's the Flagstick Podcast with your hosts, Jeff Botter and Scott McLeod. Welcome, everybody, to the Flagstick Podcast. I'm Jeff Botter. He's Scott McLeod. And Flagstick Podcast is brought to you this week by Golf PEI. Golf Prince Edward Island is a premier Canadian golf destination boasting most number of golf courses per capita in the country, with over 400 fairways closer than you can imagine, top-tier accommodation, and exquisite culinary experiences. It is the easiest golf vacation you will ever book, so book your golf vacations at golfpei.ca. Make sure you're following us across all of our social media networks as always, Instagram, X, TikTok, and Facebook. Please subscribe to this podcast on Audible, Amazon Music, Spotify, and Apple Podcasts. So we really do encourage you to subscribe to the YouTube channel, especially as the golf season starts to approach. Some more great new content will be up there. Like us and click the notification bell. Make sure you never miss a single episode. We have a pretty cool show for you this week. We are going to talk about, well, it's kind of like a spin the wheel thing, though we're not really spinning the wheel. We call it the spin the wheel of topics, but it's not really. There's no wheel. There's just topics.
There's multiple topics.
Yes. So we're going to dive into those a little bit. I haven't used that term in a while. Dive into. I better stop because it'll become a habit, and then you'll point it out, and then I'll feel inadequate and self-conscious, and then we'll see. That won't be good. So we're going to get into some of those topics on the front nine. And on the back nine, last week we talked about the rise of Scottie Scheffler, and we talked a little bit about, the comparisons between Scottie Scheffler and Tiger Woods. Obviously different eras, but the similarities we compared, all kinds of things with the two of them. We didn't really get into too much was the fact that Scotty Cameron is doing everything he's doing right now in golf in the sort of the modern era. What's that?
You just said Scotty
Cameron. Did I say Scotty Cameron? See Scotty Cameron on the brain. Actually, you know what it is? My brother Sean mentioned that he has a Scotty Cameron putter, and he bought a blue Scotty Cameron grip for his putter, and he wants me to re-grip it, and that's just stuck in my head today for some reason.
All good.
Anyway. So we wanted to take a look at the fact that Scottie Scheffler has done the things that he's done in the modern era of golf with the modern era of equipment. And we were doing these comparisons between Scottie Scheffler and Tiger Woods. They go, wait a minute. Tiger Woods did a lot of this stuff with a ball and equipment that was, a lot older.
Slightly different. Yeah.
Slightly different. So we thought maybe we'll take a look this week in Tiger's bag over the years at the equipment that he might have used to, do what he did.
And there is that tie with those irons that Scottie Scheffler uses with the P7 TW irons, and that sort of
what the TW stand for.
Yeah, I wonder. So that links it a little bit as well. So it had a couple of questions, and truthful here, we are a different era than some of our audience, and some of our audience is not really familiar with some of the history of Tiger Woods, as when we talked about the year 2000. So this is a little bit of a retrospective to kind of look back at Tiger Woods and the bag and how his changed over the years, eventually getting to said P7 TW irons.
There you go. Okay, right. Well, let's get to it then, because I want to talk about it. Let's get to it. Let's get to the front nine, presented by Metcalf Golf Club. A natural setting, a pleasant challenge. Now is the time to think about the season ahead. In fact, Radar Rob was just on social media predicting, I believe he said April the 26th was the prediction for Metcalf Golf Course to open, because Radar Rob saw his shadow, apparently. Way to go, Radar Rob. Game packages for everyone, 10, 20s, and 30-round passes are always available. And, of course, don't forget your memberships and league registrations. Visit metcalfgolf.com and stay in touch with great golf savings. Okay, well, let's before we obviously we're not to the back nine yet, so let's stay on this front nine. First of all, registration for the Flagstick Open is still open. It's May 16th and 17th at Equidel, presented by our good friends at TaylorMade Golf and Adidas Golf. However, we're
Odds are slim.
dangerously close to being full, which is not a big a deal. I mean, I don't want to panic everybody, but at the same time, things change from year to year. We could fill the field and nobody backs out. So there's about 10 spots left, and maybe a little bit less than that this morning. You might want to get registered. Don't hesitate and wait until a month before thinking you're going to get in, because by that time the waiting list could have 30 or 40 people on it. So get yourself in quick, get on the waiting list quick so that you're at the top of that list, because we don't pick and choose off the waiting list. It's picked on the basis of who's on there first to who's on there last. So first one in, no matter what your index is, you're getting in. So get registered, flagstickopen.com.
And that's actually a good point as well, no matter what your index is. I think there's a few people that still don't realize there's multiple divisions in this. Yes, always a little bit more difficult to contend for the overall title with the level of golfers that are there.
Goodness.
But certainly there are flights that are available here. So it doesn't matter your index, you can play in the Flagstick Open.
Absolutely. Okay, so the random wheel of topics. This list is kind of inspired by some timely topics that have been floated out there. First topic on the list, I really like this topic because I really like this guy. And I was just having a conversation while this was unfolding on the weekend. In case you're not familiar with what I'm talking about, we're talking about Justin Rose, who won on the PGA Tour at the age of 45. So we asked the question sort of, why does golf at all levels, though, why does golf lend itself so well to long careers? And why does age and maturity help some players achieve peak performance while other sport versus other sports as well? So I just want to touch on this topic for a second, because I had mentioned we were watching the golf a little bit in the weekend, and I was talking to my wife and my son Brandon, and I said, it's great to see what's happened with Justin Rose, because Justin Rose is sort of he's sort of that player that evolved not just his game but his maturity level.
Yes,
because he came out very, very young as an amateur. Played 17. Very, very well at the Open Championship, and decided, I'm turning pro. I'm good enough to play with these guys. Went out to do it, got some sponsors exemptions, whatnot. Missed cut. Like, he just did not have a great start. And then next thing you know, he's not he's not playing PGA Tour events or European PGA Tour events. He's playing low-level events. Like, he's basically, the career is tanking quick, and it didn't even get started because his maturity level. And maybe some people in his corner told him, hey, you just did this at the Open Championship. You can compete with the best players in the world. You need to go pro now, when really he shouldn't have. And then over the years, he matured. His game got better, but his game was already really good. It was just the maturity that wasn't there, and he needed that. And now Justin Rose is probably one of the most well-respected professional golfers across the planet. Well-liked, well-spoken, like just a great guy. And now you see the latter part of his career is really taking off. And to see him winning at age 45, that his golf swing is so consistent. And I think that contributes a lot to the success that he's had. So when we ask the question, why does golf lend itself to long careers? I mean, maybe because the physical toll on your body for some players as they get older is not the same physical toll. If you're a hockey player playing at 45 years old and you've been playing for 20 years, the beating that your body's been taking, there's a reason why football players' careers don't last that long. I'm surprised that hockey players' careers last as long as they do compared to football players, because frankly, I know football's a brutal sport. It's a very physical, brutal, grinding sport, but they play one game a week. And hockey players are playing sometimes 4 or 5 games a week, taking that kind of beating night after night after night at high-speed collisions and things like that. So not taking anything away from football, but a hockey player that plays until they're 44, 45 years old, that's an extreme case. So that obviously lots of golfers will play to that age and beyond and still be competitive, because their bodies have not taken the beating
Yeah.
that other sports have taken.
Yeah, I think the physical side is certainly part of it. And Justin Rose is known for taking care of himself. He's, he does a lot of work on that aspect as far as the gym and so forth. But I think that maturity, is a big thing regarding golf. It's having the foresight to be a little wiser in how you play and how you approach it. The more that you're out there playing courses like Torrey Pines, you get to know how to play those golf courses. You get to recognize the skills and the attributes that are going to make you successful on that golf course. Whereas, as you said, if you can come out and you're 17, 18, 19, you're younger or whatever, you tend to be a little bit more brash. To be fair, you don't know what you don't know. But at this point in Justin Rose's career, he knows a lot. He's obviously won, an Olympic gold. He's won a U.S. Open. He's, had a lot of experience not only on DP World Tour, PGA Tour. There's a lot that goes into it. And you're right. He's very classy. He's very professional. And I think a professional is really, that's the real word for him. It's his work ethic. It's how he consistently tries to adapt. If you look at his tools that he uses within his golf bag, he sort of has a selection of what he wants to have in there because he knows, they do the job for him. So he doesn't get caught up into the things that could trip you up. And I think that's the advantage of having that age maturity time that lets you go, okay, all right, I can have the confidence that I've won before. The formula, let's call it that way.
Yep.
Because we all know that, it's the unknown. When you haven't won a tournament before, you don't know how to close it out. I mean, even you could play well all week, but it comes down to the 72nd hole and you're like, well, how do I get the ball in the hole? And I've got a 3-shot lead and how do I not choke and whatever. So until you've done that and you've put yourself through it and you've endured it, and that lends itself as well to other sports. You mentioned hockey and so forth. There's a reason why, some teams will go on a run for a number of years, not just because of their personnel, but because of what the personnel know and they understand what the formula is to have success and to believe in each other and not doubt each other. And, they know what it goes on. So, and that's the great part about golf is that we can see players for a long, long time. And, it was fantastic to see him win. And I highly suspect we're going to see him in the winner's circle a little bit more this year as well.
I would think so too. And to the point of the physical side of it, Tiger Woods at his age, had he not endured the physical damages to his body over the years that he had endured, I don't think that anybody would have doubted the fact that Tiger would have easily passed Jack's 18 major record. I don't think that, because I still think that if Tiger was healthy today, he could still win. Like with the guys that are out there now, I think he would still be. He might not hit it as far as everybody else, although he's proven when he does play that he still does hit it pretty far. So I don't think that, but the experience at his age to still be able to play golf at a high level at his age, if he hadn't gone through all those injuries, Tiger Woods would still be one of the most dominating players on the PGA Tour. I don't think anybody would doubt that.
No, it's having the tools physically from a skill aspect, and then having the self belief. Self belief is a big aspect of it. So no, I think it's great, and it gives a lot of hope for a lot of other golfers, I guess.
I think so, especially. Got you there a little bit there.
You young guys.
Yeah, young guys. Yeah. Dude. All right, I'm not even gonna go here, man.
By that?
No, right. I'm not. I'm not taking the bait. Okay, this one is a big one for us Canadians, especially. Brittany Henderson, the older sister of Brooke Henderson, has stepped away from caddying for Brooke after 10 years and 13 wins together to start a family. Congratulations, Brittany. Yes. And what a great run they've had.
Yes, they have.
What characteristics do you think are key to a strong player caddy relationship? Be sisters.
Well,
that is, what? That is huge
to be said.
for them.
Yes, very much.
Some siblings caddying for their other siblings might not work
Right.
unless they know each other really well. In the case of
Mm-hmm.
Brooke and Brittany, Brittany was the oldest. Brittany was the one that was sort of the golf was taking off. She was doing all
Sure.
these great things. She was featured on the cover of Flagstick for Women.
Yep. Long
Um,
before Brooke. She's almost 7 years
exactly.
older. She's almost
Um,
7 years older. So she was on the national team 2006 to
exactly.
2008. Yeah.
And Brooke was the one looking up to her sister Brittany, and she wanted to
Yep.
do what Brittany was doing. She wanted to be as good as Brittany. She
Right.
played golf with Brittany. They were
They pushed each
inseparable.
other.
Yeah, pushed
Yeah.
each other huge. So it's not. I don't think it's a huge surprise. Brittany didn't take the route of professional golf at that level, like LPGA.
Yeah. She
She didn't.
played a couple of LPGA events, but obviously didn't get to the to tour. She yeah.
And Brooke did.
Yeah.
And for Brittany to recognize what her sister was potentially capable of doing, and then to jump on board with that as a caddy, no person in this situation, at least, nobody's going to know Brooke's game better than Brittany. So
Yeah. That's a
it's
key.
kind of
That's a
like a
key right
gimme.
there.
Yeah, you have to
Yeah.
know your player's game. You can't just. I
Yeah.
mean, sure, you can go out and grab the bag and walk around and but that's
It's
caddying and
not the same.
carrying are completely different things.
Totally.
Caddying
Yeah.
for your player.
Are you a bag carrier or are you a caddy?
Exactly. Are you carrying the bag for the player or and hey, look, sometimes you go to these mini tours
Mm-hmm. Yep.
and there's caddies there. We went through this with the Eagle Creek Classic back in the day. They had the caddies would volunteer. They pick up a player's bag. The player literally didn't want them to do anything but carry the
No,
bag. Don't read
that's
my
right.
putts. Don't club
Yep.
me. I got that. Just carry the bag.
Yep.
And sometimes that happens when there's not a relationship there.
Right.
Or sometimes a player will pick up a caddy at an event because they don't know anything about the course. So they'll pick up like a
Right.
seasoned vet that
Yep.
knows everything about the course, and they will lean on that caddy for reads, for clubbing,
Yep.
for lines, like there's
Wind,
no tomorrow.
whatever. Yeah.
But those are certain circumstances. So, what characteristics do we think a strong player? The first one is knowing your player. I think, or the big one is knowing your
Yeah.
player, knowing their game, not just what they hit and how far they hit it, but that's a
Yep.
huge part of it. But knowing their game, what their style of play is, so you can help direct them around the golf course.
Yeah, and I mean, Brooke said it this week. It's kind of the unspoken stuff that's between her and Brittany, and I know in caddying for certain players that I've known well, when you have an established relationship with them, it makes it easier to pull them off a shot. You know when to say something, when they're upset. And sometimes a player wants you to talk to them, sometimes they don't. And unless you know those cadences, that becomes really important because you're trying to accompany the player, you're trying to enhance what they're doing, you're not trying to interfere with it.
Yeah.
And you're right, being sisters, that makes a big difference in that relationship. And that's why when you see some of the partnerships that last a long while, they tend to be, well, they're successful. Obviously they like each other and they're going to do their thing, but they tend to be more successful overall on the golf course itself because they like each other. They know when to talk about golf, they want to know not to talk about golf. They maybe know their family stuff. They know the nuances of my player is feeling good this day or they're not. What do they need? And they know these without being told. And I think that's where you see it, where they're in step. If you're on the range at an LPGA event or a PGA Tour event, and you see the players, and you see the caddies, and the caddies are doing things, and the player probably doesn't even notice because they just do it. They just do it. They just know what they want, and okay. Yeah, everything that they need. They know when they want a new ball. They would know when they want a cigarette. They want to know, you know what I mean? It's just every aspect of it.
Give me a dart.
Give me a dart. Yeah. If but that's important as far as that characteristic. So I think what people don't understand is that, sometimes when people were kind of beating on Brittany a little bit because her sister or whatever, first of all, they didn't know she was a great golfer. And in fact, I look back, they actually tied for second at an Epson Tour event.
I remember that
2015. But but it's more than the great player. It's the other aspect. It's a relationship or whatever. And nobody, as you said, is going to be closer with Brooke and know more about Brooke and be able to travel with her more and talk to her more than Brittany. So good luck to John Colleen, who's her new caddy, and hopefully it works out.
I think something that needs to be understood here is if anybody's not thinking, if everybody's brain isn't braining very well, uh, she may not be caddying for her, but don't think for a minute that Brooke and Brittany are not communicating, from day to day the way they were. I mean, there's still a lot of chitter chatter going on between the sisters. They're very 100%. Close. Brooke is going to be an aunt, and that really excites her. So there's a new caddy, but there's not a new friend.
Yes,
so
100%.
Get that straight.
It's a caddy plus one.
Exactly. Okay, so what do we think can influence the development of a golfer? For example, a golfer getting better, more challenging courses, better equipment, lessons, playing time, combination of it all. Which element would help the most? Personally, I think a combination of all of those things is going to help a golfer get better. I think number one, you got to have the right equipment in your bag if you want to improve. If you just want to play golf, yes, getting fit for equipment is important. I think that's kind of a modern day thing now. Is like the better your equipment fits you, the better you'll play. If you don't care about playing well, if you don't care, if golf to you is just going out and hitting the ball around with your buddies, and you're just going in and buying off the rack at the golf retailer or whatever, that's fine. If that's what you want, that's fine. Nobody's gonna accost you for that. But if you want to improve with anything that you want to improve at, you got to have the right gear to do it. Yeah. You got to push yourself. If you're playing some rinky-dink golf course somewhere and you're shooting in the 70s and you think all of a sudden you're a good golfer, and you got to push yourself. You got to go to a better golf course, a stronger, harder golf course, and see, can I still shoot in the 70s? Probably not. Even the best players that go to better golf courses, their scores sometimes do go up a bit. So lessons are huge if you want to get better. I'm not so sure that playing more rounds of golf is the best thing. I think early
on that's a key more than anything. But later on, I think the other aspects start to have a greater input. But I mean, as yourself, when you're a kid, or when you started to play, the more time you spent out there, you experimented and played around with different shots and and it really depends on the golfer, right? And I think and you can kind of follow up on your aspect of it if you want as far as the playing stuff, but I think it depends on the golfer and how they play. If some players just go and they're like, okay, I'm just going to go and I'm doing the score. Okay, well, that's one thing, but that's different than somebody who's curious and out on the golf course and saying, what happens if I try this shot? Or how do I play this or play that? So it's time playing, I think, is deceptive because hours in doesn't necessarily mean you're getting better.
It's what do you do with the time you're playing?
Right, exactly. It's how you use those hours. So, and again, part of this question was, some people chatting about a couple different things, and automatically time out. I mean, it's the same for hockey. Kids, if they get ice time, they get ice time. It's what they do with the ice time, right? So that's 100%. What makes the difference.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, I totally agree. Totally agree with that. So I think it is a combination of it all. If which element is the most beneficial? I don't really believe that. I think that's going to be individual per person.
I think so, but that's why you get a coach, somebody who's going to guide you.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? That says, "Hey, get out on the golf course, play harder golf courses. You need learn more a little bit about this." So yeah.
So one last topic. We got about 8 minutes here, and hopefully we can just go through. Now, I read this topic here, this last topic that we had on the list here, and I kind of want to, I'm going to kind of simplify this a little bit because this is something that was brought to my attention, this similar idea here, but it was related specifically to private golf courses, but it can also be related, it can be related to memberships, but for me, this is more related to private golf courses. It was brought to my attention, it's like, should a private golf course, someone was looking at joining a private golf course, and they're looking at various private golf courses around the region. and they're like, well, what am I, what am I looking for in a, in a private golf course? My focus, my buddy's a member here and all he does is complain about the course. My buddy here is a member here and his course is, okay. So this is directed more at, for me, this is directed more at the private golf courses. Because I'm seeing all this social media marketing right now for private golf courses trying to get members. And I'm seeing what they're promoting.
Mm.
And what I'm not seeing some of these golf courses promoting, and there's a couple in particular, I'm seeing a lot of social media stuff, and is what I'm not seeing them promoting or talking about or focusing on is the freaking golf course.
Mm-hmm.
I'm
Sure.
seeing all this talk about this and this part of the club and this part of the club and this part of the
Mm.
club, but not the focus on the
Mm.
golf course. So my question for the private golf club managers,
It's
operators,
interesting.
whatever,
Yep.
is are you a private golf club or are
Mm-hmm.
you a private
Private
country
club.
club?
Yeah.
So if you're a private club that has a golf course, then
Mm-hmm.
focusing on the facilities, your locker rooms, your gym, your restaurant, your off-season amenities, all this other stuff, the social events that you have, all that kind of stuff, focusing on promoting those things to potential members, fine, because you're promoting yourself as a membership social club that
Sure.
happens to have a golf course. If you are promoting, if you think that you are a golf club that has a private membership base, and that the social side of it is part of it, but secondary to the golf course. First of all, if you're a private golf club and you are a high-end golf course somewhere, you should be focusing on the golf course. You should be putting your time and energy into the facility. I look at a place like, sorry, I'm bumping my microphone because I'm getting wound up. I look at a place
I'm sitting back and
like
listening.
Royal Ottawa, for instance. Royal
Sure.
Ottawa is probably a combination of both of these things. But if you look at what Royal Ottawa did with the practice facility that they put in there, the teaching facility they put in there, they didn't put that in there for the social people.
Mm-mm.
They put that in there for the golfers.
Mm-hmm.
People that are member golfers at the club want that kind of thing at a private golf course. They want that kind of facility, that kind of practice area. Hunt Club has a really nice practice
Sure.
area that they
Yep.
put in there. Some other private golf courses that don't focus on the golf amenities and
Mm-hmm.
the golf course, the primary piece of property is a golf course. That's what sells your facility to golfers. If you want golfers, like golf people to come and be members at your golf course and brag about your golf course to their friends and bring their guests out and bring their clients out, you got to focus on the golf course. You
Mm-hmm.
can't neglect the one primary piece asset that you have in favor of, the fish night.
Yeah.
Like, I'm just
All the different things I think are secondary. I think you're right in the fact that you don't forget your core business,
mhm.
no matter what you're
Or figure
doing.
out what your core business is.
Well, true. Yes, exactly. So, no matter what you're doing in your, and again, that should come back to strategy. And I think, unfortunately, we can do a whole episode and stuff on this, but, a lot of golf courses, don't, they fail to have a long-term strategic plan. Some do, some don't. But what that identifies is a different thing. And it's easy to get caught up in, oh, these guys are offering this and these guys are offering this. But as you said, if all of a sudden your marketing only reflects certain elements and it forgets your key assets, then you've failed yourself. You definitely want to make sure that it's all a part of it. And it goes back to things we talk about, and we'll can get into more of that. But when you even talk about marketing, people get caught up in doing one thing or another, but then they forget sort of the key things that got them where they were.
Mm-hmm.
So the same thing for clubs or golf courses or facilities or whatever. Remember who you are. Remember what's the primary reason of why people are coming there. You can add lots of other elements to grow your revenue, diversify your services, and so forth. But in the end, if your core business is your core business, and because we call it your core business, you need to make sure that you don't ignore that. So,
Well, I mean, you look at a golf course like Ottawa Hunt Club.
mm-hmm.
Okay. Ottawa Hunt Club is in the center of the city of Ottawa. It is an older facility. It's a beautiful setup there. And do you think that people are members at Ottawa Hunt Club simply because of the clubhouse? I mean, there might have a few social members from,
Sure.
that just want to,
It
go
wouldn't
to
be
the
their
clubhouse,
it
have
wouldn't be their
brunch and stuff.
prime it wouldn't be their primary.
If I'm a
Yeah.
golfer and I'm a member at the Hunt Club
Hmm.
and my golf course is crap,
Hmm.
I'm not a member at the Hunt Club for very long. The Hunt
Sure.
Club,
Yeah.
the golf course is not crap. The golf course
Yeah.
is an extremely awesome golf course with a great
Yeah.
practice facility, a nice pro shop, nice locker room setup. So you start with the golf course and then you work your way off the golf course. Great golf course, great pro shop and practice facility. Oh, great clubhouse and members lounge and great restaurant. Great facilities for hosting something. So you start
Yeah.
the trickle down effect. I start with the
Sure.
golf course and I work my way into the clubhouse.
Yeah.
I don't understand some golf courses that
They're going in
aren't
reverse.
they're forgetting my core golf. I mean, my golf course. Like, come
Yeah.
on. Nobody
I
should be
think
complaining about your golf course anyway because they don't know anything about it. But at the same time,
no.
if your golf course is garbage
Yeah.
or it should be better than it is and it isn't,
Hmm.
you
Well,
know,
I think part of the issue there, it becomes a little bit of an HR issue as well. So I see a number of
yes,
clubs across. I see a number
yes,
of clubs across Canada who have people in place that are have experience in certain aspects of business,
but not
but
golf.
not golf, and as a result of it, it shows at their facilities. And I'll just
Having a
leave it at that.
business mind is extremely important.
Oh,
I'm
for
not going to
sure,
say anything
100%.
about like being a business person,
Yeah.
very, very important. But knowing something about the industry that you are managing or running
Yes. Yeah.
pays huge
Critical.
dividends when you understand the
Critical.
clientele. Okay. Sorry,
All
I
right.
ranted on something there. I apologize, but we got to get out of here now. We're
All
gonna
good.
we're gonna stop there, and then we're gonna get into our Tiger Woods discussion in the back nine. So stay with us there. You've been listening to listening and watching the Flagstick podcast with Jeff Botter and Scott McLeod. We'll be right back.
When you golf on Prince Edward Island, there are over 400 fairways closer than you can imagine. Not to mention countless miles of pristine beaches and a rich world-class culinary experience. So get here fast, then take it slow and play around on Island Time. Golf Prince Edward Island.
All right, well, welcome back, everybody, to the Flagstick podcast. I'm Jeff Botter. He's Scott McLeod. He's a year older than I am.
So my birth certificate says.
Yeah, exactly. As promised, we're going to do, I call it a continuation of last week's podcast, but maybe an expansion of last week's podcast.
Yep.
Here on the Back Nine. Back Nine is presented by Falcon Ridge Golf Club. Indoor golf is in full swing at Falcon Ridge. Their simulators are open 7 days a week, starting at 8 a.m. and shutting down around 11. They have 4 TrackMan simulators featuring over 400 golf courses, many PGA Tour courses that you would be very familiar with. Also, beverages and light food available. Book your tee times at on one of the 4 TrackMan sims at falconridgegolf.ca.
Have you booked that tee time yet?
No, I haven't. But as we were just talking about, Brandon's sort of on his couple-month hiatus from work at working at Camelot now that it's deep into the winter. And so now that he's home during the day a little more, maybe I'll take a day off. Take a day off.
You do that
from my heavy workload and go play some indoor golf.
Yeah. I wouldn't recommend.
Falcon Ridge is very close to me, so
yeah, I was gonna say it's just around the corner. So
and maybe I'll take him for a round of golf at Cabot Cliffs.
Sure, why not? Your treat.
Exactly, my treat. I'll even fly you there in my car.
There you go.
Okay. So, like we said, it's sort of an expansion or extension of the topic we had last week with Scotty Scheffler, the rise of Scotty Scheffler, just because of that comparison that we were making. Tiger is one of those golfers that has been very, very meticulous about his equipment, very specific. Yes, his sponsors over the years have changed, from Titleist to Nike to TaylorMade. The specifications on his equipment, the details have pretty much remained identical over the years. Even the grinds on the equipment, the design of the equipment that he uses with these other brands have been specifically created for him. So, there's a very even though he's changed equipment, there's the nuances of the equipment are not as different as they might be for you and I. If we were to say, okay, I'm going to play this iron this year and then I'm going to switch to this iron, there's going to be a lot of difference between the two of them, but not necessarily for him. So that said, as we said, he is a bit of a golf equipment nerd.
Yeah, and you can see that on TGL, right? You can see him grabbing into other guys' bags and stuff like that. So,
and it's kind of funny in that respect, and it's kind of funny listening to them ask him sometimes questions about why do you do that. I remember the conversation between him and Scheffler about no divots.
Oh yeah.
But of course, if I'm curing it, I won't leave a divot. Yeah. What do you mean you not leave a divot?
But it's just always funny because you're right. They're asking him questions, but on the other side of it, he's the one digging into their bags, asking him about, their latest product they've got, knowing that he's probably not going to change.
Yeah.
He's just a curious mind.
Of course.
I'm sure he's not sitting on Golf WRX looking at through the forums of the stuff or whatever, but this is his chance to do it, to see what other guys are playing and maybe what appeals to him. But it's not like he hasn't changed. It's just there's certain tendencies that
there's certainly some serious surprises in this. When I went through the list and I'm looking, I'm going, what really? I don't remember that, but okay. So
when a guy's around that long, though, you're going to have stuff.
But some of these really surprised me. Some of these really surprised me. Okay, so here's a breakdown of the Tiger equipment. We'll call it. If you can see my finger quotes on the YouTube, you can feel the nature of them on the audio version. The Tiger equipment eras.
Just like Taylor Swift. He's got his eras.
Eras, yeah. So, number one, the amateur / college prodigy, 1992 to 1996.
And this one's really interesting because it's like when you start to think about this is, pre-getting paid. This is an era where amateurs were not getting contracts and stuff like we see nowadays.
Not like now where you see they all got the same brands. I'm at such and such a D1 school program, so I'm playing this.
I talked to a guy recently and they were talking about equipment, and they're talking about kids as low as 8 years old where they're seeding equipment to some of these kids. So it's wild. So
get him early. So here's the deal. And this one was one of the first surprises just because of how mixed this bag was.
Yeah.
What did Tiger have in his bag during these amateur and college prodigy years? Well, he had a tailor-made burner orange head.
Early on. Yeah.
Or he would have also been seen playing a Cobra deep face driver.
Yeah, and that was the one I think a lot of people were familiar with, right?
Steel shafted.
Yeah. Steel shafted.
So his irons were Mizuno MP14s and MP29s because the Tiger combo. He used these to win his 3 consecutive U.S. amateurs.
Yeah. But prior to that.
Right. And this shouldn't surprise you too much, but he used Ping Eye 2 irons during his junior amateurs and PGA Tour debut as a 16-year-old at the LA Open.
Yeah. Go back and look at those pics. Ping Eye 2s. So this is the weird one.
So you think that Tiger's this superstar golfer and he must have had blades in his bag? Nuh-uh.
No. Eventually he moved to those.
Yeah.
But, again, it was those Ping Eye 2s that if you go back and look at the photos from the LA Open when he was 16, when he got that first sponsor's exemption, that's what you see. And he used those in those junior amateurs before he became, winning. So he won 3 U.S. junior amateurs before he won 3 straight U.S. amateurs.
Mm-hmm.
And so he was banging cavity back. So almost, probably an extension of your point. If you're a 16-year-old and you're a great player, doesn't mean you're automatically throwing blades in there.
Nope.
He was obviously using what worked for him at the time.
Exactly. His wedges were Cleveland 588 wedges, 56 and 60. Hey, super I had the popular. Same ones.
Yep. Yeah.
Just right around the same time, I had the same ones too.
Yep. Popular. I think a lot of people did.
That was the go-to.
So
that one or 485s. 485s was the other one. They were a little different shape to them. They didn't. I noticed the 588s, if I remember, a little higher. Like now we have the high toes. The 588s, I remember having a little bit of a higher toe on them. The 485s were a little smaller shape
Yeah, more offset, and if people are not familiar, the Cleveland iterations of how they did it, the iteration is the first number, and then the year is the next number. So 485 was the fourth iteration. Their wedges came in 1985. 588s were the fifth iteration. They came in 1988, and didn't quite have as. Let's just say they didn't when they went to the 691s, they weren't as popular as the 588. That shape kept coming back and coming back. So
people, you just learned something.
Some history.
You just learned something. I bet you nobody. I bet you there aren't very many people that played 588s that actually knew that. They thought it was just a code number.
Probably.
Which was a code number. You just didn't know what it stood for. Okay, it's a Ping Answer 2 putter, stainless steel model.
Yeah, you remember that one?
Yeah.
That he used? Yeah,
I do. This was his original flat stick before the Scotty Cameron era. So, and his ball was a Titleist Professional 90. So this was before. This was before the Pro V1.
Yes.
Yes. The Titleist Professional 90 came after,
but it was
after the Tour Balata.
Yeah.
So it was more durable, had the elastomer cover.
Yeah.
Elastomer.
I actually, you know what? I should have grabbed a box of Pro 90s. I've got some.
Have one.
I do have some downstairs. So yeah.
Okay, so that was the college era for Tiger. Lot of moving parts in that bag.
Definitely.
And then came 1996 to 2002. This was the era of the Tiger Slam era, or the Titleist and Tiger Slam era. Yeah. Now we all know the press conference where Tiger, notably said, quote, "Hello world," to everybody. Signed with Titleist. This was the dominant era of Tiger Woods. The driver he had in his bag there was a 975D.
Love that driver.
7.5. Yeah. When you're generating that kind of club head speed, though, you can use a 7.5 degree driver.
Yeah, and he experimented. He had 6.5s and 7.5s that they played.
Steel shafted too.
Steel shafted.
Steel shafted again.
Yeah.
Interestingly, people listening, golfers out there thinking 7.5, I could you can't. No, you can't.
Especially in those designs that were deeper faced. No,
now you might be able to handle an 8 or something like that. I know a lot of guys that I've played, they'll dial their 9 degree down to an 8 sometimes, or an 8.5. With the modern shafts and the modern head designs, the bigger heads, the way the CG is on them, like, you could probably do it, but
yeah, and it matched the golf ball at the time, which was a lot spinnier as well. So players would generally loft down a little bit more to help take that spin off. So that was part of the formula at the time.
But generally speaking, no.
But obviously we're 30 years beyond that now. So, golf ball technology has changed, driver technology has changed, but certainly that 975D, it was a
great driver. It was a really good driver.
Yeah, it was.
But even better than that driver.
Yes, was the
Titleist PT fairway woods. These things were rocket ships.
Yeah, but they were so small.
Oh my God. Yeah. But his was a 5 wood, wasn't it?
Did
he have a 5 wood or a 3 wood?
He had 2. He had a 13 degree and a 17 degree, maybe. There's a famous, obviously, in-bag photo that a lot of people have seen. I would have to double check that one.
I remember having one. Yeah. I remember. I'm positive that I had I think I had a 15. Lots of people had 13s.
Yeah, we sold a lot of those back in the day. So
that came off like a bullet. I don't really know what a bullet feels like off a driver, but no. No, you don't.
It was tiny, and
but a lot of the clubs back then, they were small. I mean, we didn't think they were small. They were small. No. They were small.
Well, they were small and relative, I guess, to, we're starting to get Big Bertha stuff start to show up at that time, and we're starting to get some forgiving equipment. But again, it was designed to kind of knock the spin down and had that low profile. And really, it played into a player like him who was, very exact, very precise. Again, if you want to go back and find one of these on eBay or whatever and sit it down next to your current fairway wood, you'll be like, how do you hit that thing? It'll look smaller than probably your hybrid that you have right now.
Exactly. Yeah. Now, his irons went during the Titleist era. The irons were Titleist forged blades. However, they were custom made, and they very much were carbon copies of his to mimic his old Mizunos. The MP14s, MP29s that he used to win the 3 U.S. amateurs. So,
And that was sort of a continuity of what we'll see throughout his equipment. The fact that, he changed brands, but he still kept things like lofts and profiles and top line thicknesses and toe shapes. And, so that can, because obviously if you're the best player in the game, you can get whatever you want.
Exactly. Now, this was a big deal aside from, I don't know that the irons, the switch in irons was a major change for him. I mean, a brand, yes, but the fact that they had custom made clubs for him, I don't think that it would have been as big of a learning curve for him.
Yeah.
But switching putters, he switched from his ping answer, the stainless steel ping answer putter that he was using, to the Scotty Cameron Newport, and this is the one with the Trillium insert. And this was a big switch. I mean, when you're changing putters, that's a pretty big deal. Now that's what he used to win the '97 Masters, and was 99 to the present day. Is the Scotty Cameron Newport to the GSS, the Elder Wand. This putter has been used for 14 out of his 15 majors. So
and we'll see as we go through here. There's definitely has been some experiments. He's played around at a little point using this and that, but it's not stuck. It's always been going back to this putter. And the fun part about this putter is while he's very casual about it, let's just say that, like, the thing is like banged up like beyond belief, and he doesn't, they'll adjust the loft and lie on it, but they certainly don't clean it up. It's got nicks and dents and whatever, whereas they could refurbish the whole thing, but he's decided not to do that. But on the other side, it has stayed in his bag and, like you said, been used for 14 of his 15 majors.
Surprisingly, we'll just pass through this one quickly, though. Surprisingly was the move to the Nike Tour Accuracy ball.
That was big.
From the Titleist Professional. Kind of an interesting shift there. And that was huge because that was, we'll call it, I mean, you've got note here, his secret weapon behind the Tigers. That's the ball that he used. And everybody was wondering about the ball, and this is the ball that he used to win all these majors. So
he's going from wound to solid core, and he was doing that in an era when a lot of the other players were playing wound balls, and he was obviously hitting it very, very far. Nike, was doing the design. They had Bridgestone doing the build as far as that golf ball, but it ushered in an era when all the other manufacturers began to look at solid core, because the players were like, this is going from the, this is going from the gutta percha, forward here. We got this is the next era as far as golf balls, and to this day we have solid core golf balls.
So a little bit of a tweenie here, the evolution of the Nike deal that started to happen here. Now, initially it was a clothing deal. It was apparel and shoes. He didn't actually play Nike clubs or Nike balls right away. The ball was the introduced in 2000. And that was the Tour Accuracy ball. It wasn't until 2001 that Nike had hired Tom Stites. Now, anyone knows Tom Stites, Hogan, Impact Technologies. Maybe you can talk a little bit about, because you did tour the plant and stuff.
I spent lots of time with Tom. I've been in his office, back in the day. Like you said, he worked for Hogan, obviously worked on clubs for Ben Hogan. And actually, this is one of my coolest geeky golf club moments. Impact Technologies was it was basically a company that made clubs for Nicklaus and so forth. So Tom Stites ended up making clubs for Ben Hogan, Jack Nicklaus, and Tiger Woods. And I had the cool opportunity at one point at Tom's office within 15 minutes to have a 5-iron from each of those players in my hands, which is like the still freakiest, golf moment ever. And the cool part there is, as not only was Tom doing the designs, Tiger ended up with a guy named Mike Taylor, who was the builder, who would do all the builds at Nike. Just a good old boy, neat guy. A lot of people that are in, if they know the equipment industry, they'll know him. And Rick Nichols, who was kind of his concierge, let's call it, from equipment. So, when Tiger was wanting to look at stuff, he would talk to Rick, and then they would work with the team at Nike and kind of come up with what they want. You can go to our YouTube channel and you can look up, there's a Tiger Woods video on there. where I recorded it in New York in 2014, sat across from Tiger with Rick there and Mike there, and they talked about his equipment and what he looked for in equipment and how they worked together. And that's pretty informative if you want to go and see that. And, you know, because they had were finally doing equipment, you know, now they could expand sort of their relationship, and obviously Nike was opening up the checkbook, so that helped as well. And he, you know, kind of jumped over. They started working, and then it was another year or so before they kind of got a full set of Nike irons and driver in the bag. Obviously, they weren't switching too much else in there as far as the putter and so forth. And that was when he began blossoming that relationship with Nike in the hard goods side of thing. I think he won a WGC American Express that fall in like Ireland. He had switched over, you know, kind of before the Ryder Cup, and that was sort of like starting to get people's attention as far as Tiger and Nike, not just, you know, wearing the shirts and wearing the shoes, but now he was playing their equipment, and this changed everything for the next 18 years.
I know, like that's huge. So the full Nike era kicked in 2003, and continued on until 2016. Once they had that full line. Now there were some, like, I recall the Nike equipment. There were some products, particularly some blue-headed things,
that T40
were not particularly good, and they evolved from that. The driver that he played early on was the Ignite.
Yeah, so that was the T40 they called it, I guess.
Yeah. Then the Sasquatch.
Yep.
Now, Tiger never used the square version,
thankfully.
So just so people are, they think maybe they equate the Nike SQ to the square one. That, you know, that wasn't the case. There was a rounded more pear-shaped version of that. And then finally the VR, the Victory Red series that was that he started playing. The irons that he played were Nike Forged blades. Arguably, as you noted here, the most iconic blades of the 2000s, featuring the TW logo on them. He at the 2010 Players Championships, Wood used a set of Nike VR Forged TW blades. The VR stood again for Victory Red and carried through most of the Nike equipment line during the Tiger era. He did play some Vapor irons at one point, but went back to the blades.
So that would be,
you know, with Vapor.
Yeah, that'd actually be the same prototype that you've got sitting in your office.
It still was wrapped in plastic, I might add.
An MM prototype that was there. So yeah, and you know, it was important for him because they could start to mess around with what they were doing with the irons. But yes, this was definitely an area where there was a lot of experimentation going on because he had the access, because he was the guy, and he could try and play around. Whether that was good or bad is arguable, but at least at that time he had lots of different options that he could sort of look at.
So the fairway woods that he played during that area, now notoriously kept an old Sasquatch 2 5-wood in the bag for years because of the fact that he loved the flight. And this is where, you know, this is where players, the nuances of players and what they have in their bag, they just gravitate to something that they like. They like the way the ball comes off the face of the club. They like the trajectory, the launch angle, the flight of it overall, the feel of it. And these guys, this is how they make their living and their reputations. They kind of have to stick, you know, I'd hate to be in that contract where you have to play this and then be grinding to try to make it work, even though it just doesn't feel right. For Tiger, obviously, he had that ability to, if I don't like it, I'm not putting it in my bag just because you want me to, kind of thing.
Yeah, so exactly.
So good on him. Now, putter, he briefly did switch to a Nike Method putter, which I believe I had a Method Midnight.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I have a Method 01 from 2010. I've still make use of it every now and then for some sim golf and stuff like that. But
I don't have mine anymore. But
there was specific reasons why he put it in there, and we'll see.
Right, he switched back to a Scotty Cameron after a brief. But but you've noted here also at the 2010 British Open in St Andrews, he said that the greens were especially slow. He was going to use the Method putter. Said the ball just came off the face faster. However, he did switch back to a Scotty Cameron before the 4th round.
Yeah,
so,
exactly. Did not last.
No, in 2010, Woods played Nike's Tour 1 ball.
Yeah.
And each of his were marked with Tiger.
Yeah.
It's a long era.
Yeah.
Before the 2011 Masters, Woods played around a little bit with a different Nike Method putter. He used it for all 4 rounds of the tournament.
Yep.
That was in 2011. 2012, Tiger's obviously known as one of the best iron players in the game.
Sure.
So he opted to play the Nike VRS Forge 2 iron at the WGC Cadillac Championship in Doral in 2012.
I remember that because all the people were like looking at the photos and freaking out that he's putting this other one in his bag or whatever like this. Not that
they switched back and forth between the 2 iron and a 5-wood based on course conditions. That was just his thing. I mean, and we all know Tiger's stinger. That was the 2 iron. I mean, that was the shot. I think he could do that with other clubs, but that was that 2 iron shot. Sure. 2013, putter.
Played around with the method again.
Yeah. So it seems like he's kind of bouncing around on this one, trying to figure out, do I really want to make the switch? Do I not want to make the switch? Well, the switch never fully lasted.
No, it never took.
As we know, we talked about at the beginning of this that he still likes that Scotty Cameron Newport. 2015 driver. In 2015, he tinkered around with different shafts in his Vapor Speed driver, and he had a 460 cubic centimeter. Like he hit a 460 cc driver.
Well, he had a 420. He had a
420. He was experimenting with the 460.
The stock. So the stock model was 460, and he had a specialized one. So then, that sort of, for equipment fans, they sort of like, oh, okay, great, this is the retail one, but he's playing this one, so it's not the same, and I want the Tiger one and whatever. And again, this was an era when they were trying super hard to get him into it. And it's not that the product was bad, it was just a case of like it had to be very specific to him to get something that he wanted. And and again, just right around the same time, this is when those Vapor Pro irons that we're talking about, they had debuted at that August 2014. That was the event in New Jersey. And one of the key sort of aspects that came out of there at the launch, and I remember being there, was they were talking about what he did in his irons. And this was one of the first times we started to hear about him adding tungsten into the toe of his irons. And this is to move the CG. And he made comments, I remember him to this day, he made comments about the feel of tungsten and the mass of it and how it changed the club head characteristics. And he liked what he called a hard feel, but he liked that explosiveness or whatever. But so that was part of the things when we looked at the Vapors. They moved tungsten towards the toe to move the CG away from the sort of the heel side, and that was sort of that was pushed by Tiger, but obviously he ended up not really playing those irons for too long.
So later in 2016, Nike announced it would no longer be making clubs and balls. Woods signed a golf ball endorsement deal with Bridgestone and started using the Tour BXS ball.
Yeah,
and 2018, he did experiment with TaylorMade TP Juno blade and the Ardmore mallet putter, but nothing stuck.
Yeah, so, and again, those are firestorms on the internet where all of a sudden people see him with, not the putter, and they react to it. But of course, he doesn't put it in. Especially, I remember the mallet one. The Juno looked pretty much like his, his Scotty Cameron as far as the shape and size of it. So then to see him all of a sudden, try the mallet, he said at the time he was just looking for a slightly different feel. Didn't quite work.
Okay, so we got about 8 minutes here. We're going to have to power through this section. Yeah. So this is the modern era, TaylorMade and Bridgestone era, 2017 to 2025, where we sit sort of right now. After Nike exited the hardware business, Tiger became more or less a free agent of the equipment market. This was before he signed his deal with TaylorMade. After signing the endorsement deal in January 2017 with TaylorMade, Woods started using a TaylorMade M2 driver.
Yep.
In 2017, back injuries and obviously the multiple surgeries put Woods on the sideline for most of 2016 and 17. He played a few events with his old Nike VR Forged blades.
Yep.
Missed all 4 majors because of injury. They when he did come back and start playing again, he had a new set of irons in the Bahamas for the Hero World Challenge that did not have a manufacturer's name on them. They did, however, have his new corporate logo.
Exactly.
2018, he switched to TaylorMade's M3 driver and played that for the beginning of 2018 and throughout the season. 2018 irons, Tiger had a prototype set of irons in his bag that were made by TaylorMade. This was the TW Phase 1. It was a muscleback shaped iron and styled similar to his previous ones. And he used those for several events. He added the TaylorMade RSI Forged 2 iron to his set.
Yep.
What do we got here? 2019.
Yeah, I can rip you. I can rip you
rip through. Let's just rip through here because I'm babbling.
So this is when he made the jump in 2019, where he all of a sudden came out with his P7 TW irons, which are the ones he's stuck with today. They're a blade, they're co-designed with him, but they do have tungsten weight, kind of just to have the CG location and mimic the feel. And obviously, these are the ones that Scotty Scheffler works as well. He wanted to basically use every bit of experience that he had over the years into those irons, and that's why they became so personal to him. He had switched out to an M5 driver, a 3-wood at the time. He did have his M3 5-wood, which we loved and it stayed in his bag and still uses a bit to today. And then the Scotty Cameron putter stayed there. And then when they had introduced the milled grind wedges soon afterwards in 2019, they created a prototype for him with the milled grind 2, which was a TW grind, that his grind. And one of the things he said about them was he liked the fact he could go from wedge to wedge. They didn't have to be reground every time. They were milled the same way. So he loved that. And then as we jumped from there sort of into the modern era, we looked at all of a sudden the QI. He showed up the 2023 Hero World Challenge, and the Hero World Challenge would tend to be the place where he'd all of a sudden show up with new equipment. And, that's where he jumped to the QI10 LS that replaced a Stealth that he had. Still kept those wedges in there. And then by, last year he was into that, although he didn't play a lot, obviously, QI35 LS, had MG4 wedges, the Tiger Woods grind, and then, Tour BX as far as the golf ball, Bridgestone. He always likes a spinny golf ball. He doesn't care if, as he's always said, I don't care if my 8-iron goes 166. I want it to go 162, like whatever the case would be. He wants precise. He likes to have a little bit more spin on it. So he's a little bit been different than other players. And then we get to today.
The modern era. What's in his bag? Well, his long game, he has a QI4D LS9 or a 10.5 degree driver. Shafts, a graphite design Tour AD VF6X. His 3-wood is a TaylorMade QI4D Tour 15 with a graphite design Tour AD VF7X. His 5-wood is a TaylorMade M3, 19 degrees set to 18.25. To be precise. It's the old reliable. It's the oldest club in his bag. Despite new technology, he does prefer and trust the flight and turf interaction of this particular 2018 model more than the modern equivalents. His scoring club is the TaylorMade P7 TW Florida pitching wedge. These are his custom signature blades with tungsten weighting. He occasionally swaps the 3-iron at P770 in and out depending on how much he needs to hit stingers. Shafts, True Temper Dynamic Gold Tour Issue X100s. His wedges are TaylorMade MG5s, Tiger Woods grind 56 and 60. And the tech, these feature a raw face, which rusts more for the spin. Love the rusty face. And his specific dual sole grind that allows him to open the face without the leading edge sitting too high. So there you go. You have the never-changing constants with Tiger Woods. Despite the logo changes, 3 things have stayed nearly identical throughout his career, and I'll bang through these quickly.
Sure.
The grip. He has used the Golf Bride Tour Velvet cord with the logo turned down on almost every club for 30 years. The putter grip, he uses a thin Ping PP58 blackout grip on his Scotty Cameron, even though he's a TaylorMade staffer. And his iron shafts, he has almost exclusively used true temper dynamic gold X100 shafts his entire life. Take that and just think about that for a second. How often we are like, oh, I got to have this, I got to have that, I got to have this. Tiger's using the same shaft almost exclusively his entire life.
Yeah. Played around with driver shafts, but iron shafts, they're consistent. So
there you have it. And that's a lot. But now you're up to speed on all things equipment related. Tiger Woods over his entire career, detailed with specifications. So should you choose to think that maybe you'd play better if you were using Mizuno MP14, MP29 combinations with, now we know, True Temper Dynamic Gold X100 shafts, have at it, baby. Have at it. All right, we'll call it quits. That's enough for this week. Thank you to our sponsors, Metcalfe Golf Club, Falcon Ridge Golf Club, and our presenting sponsor, Golf PEI. Golf Prince Edward Island is a premier Canadian golf destination boasting the most number of golf courses per capita in the country, with over 400 fairways closer than you can imagine, top-tiered accommodations, and exquisite culinary experiences. It is the easiest golf vacation you will ever book, so book those golf vacations at golfpei.ca. We do hope that you have enjoyed watching and hearing what we've been giving you today. Be sure to follow us across all of our social media networks, as always, Instagram, X, TikTok, and Facebook. Subscribe on Spotify, Audible, Amazon Music, and Apple Podcasts. Don't forget the YouTube channel. Like us, click the notification bell. Make sure you never miss a single episode ever. And head over to flagstick.com for more amazing golf content delivered every single day. Subscribe to Flagstick Digest newsletter. It's free and it comes to your inbox 3 days a week. As always, we appreciate you tuning in. I'm Jeff Botter.
I'm Scott McLeod.
Yes, he is. Remember, always go for the stick.